Welcome to this overview of Zora Neale Hurston, who was born in January 1891. One of 5 children, Hurston grew up in Eatonville, Florida, which was the first African-American town in the United States to be incorporated. She noted that Eatonville was not, quote, the black backside of an average town, but rather a, quote, pure Negro town with a charter, mayor, council, town marshal, and all. In fact, Hurston's father, John, was elected mayor of Eatonville 3 different times and wrote the village laws. Joe Clark's store was what she called, quote, the heart and spring of the town, the site of the lying sessions, or storytelling sessions that influenced her own writing. For the child Zora, the store porch was the most interesting place, although Hurston would later note that women were excluded from telling tales and socializing on the porch. It was a place that she loved. After her mother's death in 1904, Hurston attended school in Jacksonville, and in 1917 traveled north from the rural South to Baltimore, as did many African Americans. She enrolled in Howard University in 1918. In 1925, Hurston, who said she was, quote, feeling the urge to write, end quote, moved to New York City with only $1.50, no jobs, no friends, and what she said was a lot of hope. Hurston's arrival in New York coincided with the advent of the new Negro or Harlem Renaissance, the great cultural awakening that celebrated black music, dance, theater, visual arts, and black literature. One of the few writers of the period to have grown up in the rural South, Hurston focused on her Southern legacy. She unapologetically used dialect in her stories and created settings that were rich in African American rural culture. In May 1925, her short story Spunk was published and won awards. Then in 1926, she became an assistant editor of Fire, a literary journal. She worked alongside Langston Hughes and Gwendolyn Bennett, Claude McKay, and other writers. Although Fire lasted for only 1 issue, it became influential, and her story, Sweat, appeared in its pages to great acclaim. Unlike other writers of the period, Hurston was not especially political. She did not agitate for social and political reform, as writers such as Langston Hughes did. Hurston made clear in the essay How It Feels to Be Colored Me, which was written at the height of the Harlem Renaissance, that she was not sympathetic to the political project. She wrote, I am not tragically colored. There is no great sorrow dammed up in my soul, nor lurking behind my eyes. I do not mind at all. I do not belong to the sobbing school of Negrohood, who hold that nature somehow is giving them a low-down dirty deal. No, I do not weep at the world. I am too busy sharpening my oyster knife. Due in part to some understandable tensions with other leading lights of the Harlem Renaissance, Hurston became an anthropology major at Barnard, where she studied alongside Margaret Mead. She loved immersing herself in the study of folk traditions and graduated in 1927. After traveling back to the South and spending 5 years in the field, she transcribed the type of tales she had listened to on Joe Clark's porch. Hurston published Mules and Men in 1935. It was the first book of folklore by a black American. In this collection she included 70 folk tales. Hurston's novel Jonah's Gourdvine was published in 1934, although it was written after Mules and Men. In this novel, Hurston loosely based the plot on the lives of her parents. Widely recognized as Hurston's literary triumph, Their Eyes Were Watching God, published in 1937, centers on her protagonist, Janie, who grows from a questioning, insecure teen into a strong woman. Hurston's novel has become a celebrated part of the American literary canon. Other novels followed, but Hurston's writing became less popular and her reputation suffered as her political leanings became more and more conservative. Her autobiography, Dust Tracks on a Road, which was published in 1942, received poor reviews by critics who felt She was too apolitical and conservative. Another reason Hurston's work fell out of favor was the feeling that works that used dialect presented African Americans in stereotypical ways. In any case, in 1954, Hurston dropped completely off the literary map when she condemned the Supreme Court's 1954 school integration decision. She was accused of betraying African Americans. In a letter to a Florida newspaper, she rejected integration, perhaps remembering the all-black Eatonville in which she had grown up. Sadly, Zora Neale Hurston died penniless and in obscurity in 1960. However, Alice Walker, who would later go on to earn a Pulitzer Prize for The Color Purple, was one of a group of young scholar writers to rediscover and celebrate Hurston. In 1973, Walker put up a headstone on Hurston's grave, and in 1975 published her famous essay, In Search of Zora Neale Hurston. Hurston has been credited not only with preserving African American folk culture, but doing so in a literary, sophisticated way. Indeed, Hurston told the reporter Frank Hayes, quote, "It would be a tremendous loss to the Negro race and to America if we should lose the folklore and folk music, for the unlettered Negro has given the Negro's best contribution to America's culture." End quote. Thanks in a large part to Zora Neale Hurston, this legacy has been passed down to the readers of the 21st century.